Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to CCxRC. In this video, we're going to be starting a new build series on my SCX24 here. That's one of my kids' Broncos, and it's still a stock truck, except we took the rear tire off it because it just made it too heavy. So I have all these parts and stuff that we sell over at CCxRC.com, and some of them, it's kind of a two-part series. One is going to show you how to take this truck and make it more capable. And two, it's going to show some of the parts that I have here on the site and that I have available at CCxRC branded things that can make your truck better, but also show how to install them and do that kind of stuff. So we're doing one thing at a time. So in this video, we're going to set like a baseline, see how the truck handles, and then talk about how I upgrade these trucks and kind of the process. I normally do a few things right away, like wheels, tires, servo, and usually shock placement and diff covers. Like that's kind of my go-to for these as a starting point. But we're going to do this video by video and show you kind of what differences each thing makes and how each thing kind of adds up and takes the performance to the next level. So from motors to servos to diff covers and all of that, we're going to be tackling it here in this series, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. All right, you guys, I actually opted to use this blue Bronco that I had sitting on the shelf as well, because I realized that the servo in this one had already been upgraded, and so this one was still sitting there completely box stock, again without the top rack or the sand rail type things or the rear spare tire, but it is a stock truck. Running the stock motor, stock batteries, stock servo, links, everything on this one is bone stock, plastic links. So this is a better base point to get started from. From there, I'm going to be choosing some different upgrades off of my parts wall here that are all available at CCxRC.com and showing you some of the upgrades that I do, and typically in the order that I would do them. However, I'm going to do them one at a time, because normally I would just right away go with a new brass servo mount, brass steering links, and a servo straight away. Instead, I'm going to do kind of one at a time, show you how they install, how they build, and go from there. And because it does change things, it adds weight, but it's also cost. So we'll see how, if you just change the servo, what improvements you get. Then we'll add probably diff covers for a little bit of weight. And then we could look at adding like a motor here. We're definitely going to want a new motor. So we're going to give ourselves a baseline, but there's all these different parts and stuff that we can add to it. Shocks, overdrive gears are a big thing that I like to use. But definitely you want to change your servo and motor, pretty much if nothing else, because it'll perform that much better. So let's just give a quick little baseline here so you guys can try to remember where we started. But definitely with the motor, when you do hit some resistance, whoops, it's backwards. When you do hit some resistance, it'll just stop like that. Instead of wanting to keep driving, it should want to just force itself up, but you have to give a lot of input here on the throttle in order to make it do that. It's because it doesn't have a whole lot of torque. If I put my hand on it, you can hear it just cut out. It won't even go anywhere. So that's one of the upgrades. Wheels and tires are one of the first things that I do as well. There's no foams in these. They're kind of tall, which I like tall tires, but it's not working for me with these stock ones. And they don't do bead locks, so you can't really reuse them, which is a bummer, because it would be fun to try putting foams in them or other things. So there's some, inexpensive upgrades you can get for it, either the Proline tires and wheels that are plastic bead lock, with Hyrex tires on that do pretty good. But I've also got some of these here that we're going to try out. They're aluminum bead locks, and so we'll give them a go. And they're pretty inexpensive as well. So we're going to do some cheap upgrades, and as we go, we'll be tabulating the cost per video as this goes up, and saying what the previous costs were, and we'll get a final tabulation. So starting here, we already see it just, the motor kind of cuts out. Servo, if there's something up against it, it doesn't fight super great. Seems quick enough on this pad, but when you're out crawling, we'll see how it does. But overall, they're not a bad starting point, but you could make them so much better with a few little upgrades. And that's what we're going for. Something you could take to like a class 2 comp, but also could just be for fun trailing. So here we are outside giving it a little test. The V2 electronics do allow that nice slow crawl. There's kind of hanging up a little with the motor not having quite the torque. Oh, we're leaning. Some of that stuff is fixable. It's kind of stiff acting, and that can be done without any payment for the mods. We slipped off the rock. Again, it's wet. And we're down. All right. See if I can get it up a little earlier. There we go. That's a little better. Adjust the brightness here a little bit. A little bright. Now the back. All right, let's try this again. We'll just have to find a different approach. Maybe we'll come up here. And we rolled. All right. So, I told you it's tippy. This thing's tippy out of the box. It's so heavy up top. So trying to find some scale looking things for it to crawl on. For you guys. Let's see. I don't really want to tip and fall down the hill, so I gotta be careful about my approach here. Come on, autofocus. That would not be good. So I'm gonna do a little reverse here. See if I can get it to turn a little. I just want to get that other front tire up. If it'll let me. Without slipping. These tires aren't super grippy. There it is. We got it. Now we need the back tires to follow. All right. Just need that back tire to come up on here. Oh. All right, we're gonna just help it up here. I don't got all day. All right, just step down. We'll try and find some easier obstacles. Ones that we do all the time here. Leaning. This is an up and over we do all the time. Slid off. Now, clay, moisture, can't fully blame it. There, now we're getting it. There's a line. We got it. So it's a little hamstrung at the moment. I mean, moisture is kind of what we're dealing with these days, so it's kind of what a lot of the stuff has had to deal with. Rolled back. Let's just not do that line. I don't think it can do it. I don't know, though, that tires are going to help first out the gate when we're still battling the weight of the body rolling. So, if you have this, you have to start at a different point, and that's putting weight down low. And there's different ways to do that. Because dang, it just rolled again. Just trying to crawl up here. There it goes. And that's just trying to overcome those little itty bitty rocks right there. Those 3 rocks are what we're hanging it up. We're going to go on a little bit of an incline here. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down because I don't think it could even side hill this. Because that front end's going to drop. We'll just try it, and I think it'll roll. Maybe that front tire is going to help it. I think we got lucky. Bumpers, one thing that kind of gets in the way with these. All right, there you go. I mean, it's not to say you can't have fun with it stock. I think you just have to look at lines differently. I'm just so used to looking at different lines because of our comp trucks being able to tackle so many. But that's a fun line right there. Now the servo is bound. It will not force against this rock. I'm hitting it, and it will not turn against it. So that's where a little bit stronger servo is helpful. The rolling over is the hardest part with this one. All right, I think we're gonna start our journey with some weight. So let's start by doing weight, and then we'll see how it does. Alrighty, so I just washed it off after the run outside, and I've decided I washed it generally with a toothbrush on the tires just to kind of get some of the clay off it and off the body a little bit. So I'm going to take the battery off for now. I'm going to put it back on charge so it's a full start. And we're going to think about options here. I think our best bet is going to be diff. I'm going to do some diff covers on here. So I've got these brass ones, are inexpensive right now. And I've got black ones. I'm going to do black ones because I want to keep the look on this truck black. Some people like the extra bling, but we're going to go with black ones and put them on, and we'll show you the difference there. So it's saying about 10 grams. Scales vary, I know that. So maybe 8 there. Now it says 8. So that's typically what we say they are, 8 grams. So 2 of those is going to be 16 grams of weight. There's definitely, substantial weight to it. So we're going to add that on the front and rear. And it's a pretty simple install. It comes with the screws. Be very careful with the screws, you guys. The heads can break off of them. They're not super quality ones, the ones that come with it. They're not steel. They're just kind of a cheapy, get it done kind of thing. They work great. They're fine. You just cannot hammer on them to put them in. So one of the things that I recommend also, so the Mighty Handy tool is good, but when you're dealing with a lot of screws like this, having a driver like this is very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. There's 6 screws. You don't really have to take anything else off. You can. That's a 1.5 millimeter. We need the 0.050. So I have a whole baggie of the different bits in here. I'm going to remove these and show you guys. We'll do the rear one first because it's a little bit easier to see. In fact, it's missing a screw somehow. So it needed a replacement. And it does hold the upper link riser as well. So these 2 upper screws. So just be aware of that. They can pop off. You might have to reset it. So we're going to do all of these, and then we'll replace it with a new one. I think this is my son's, and he had gotten started on this and then didn't finish. Wow. That's also how you'd get in if you want to change your gears. So this is just going to drop on here, and we're going to add considerable more weight. It's definitely noticeable. So the upper ones are the longer ones because they go through a bunch of things. And in order to hold them in place, they have the longer screws. You just kind of push them in place. So it's sticking out like that. And then you can just drill it the rest of the way home. Again, be very careful here because I know it can break. So I'm not actually going to screw it all the way in that way. we're going to come back with a regular driver for the last bit. Or I just twisted by hand the last bit. They don't have to be super tight on these. There's no reason to over tighten them. You're going into plastic. You just need it to be held on. So just be a little bit careful with them and you're going to be all right. None of them are going to break. And if it's not going in easy, don't force it. Especially if you're doing brass axles or brass parts. That's how you definitely break off these cheaper heads on these screws. But I have bins of these. I use them all the time. They are cheaper, but they work fine. I use them for 80 to 90% of my stuff, and they're just fine. All right. The irony would be for me to break it off right here. So there, now we've added weight down low, and it looks pretty rad with that logo on there, CCxRC, right? All right, so these ones you just kind of move stuff out of the way. So you can just pull down on these, push up on them, turn, whatever you need to do to get to these screws in here. I'm gonna start with the top ones. This screwdriver is like 15 or 18 bucks on Amazon. It's totally worth it. Totally worth it. Now these stock screws do not fit back in because the new diff covers are thicker. So if you try to reuse these ones because they're better, the problem is they're not long enough. So the nice thing about doing these first too is you don't have to get your metal steering link out of the way. It's plastic, so you can literally just bend it up like I'm doing. Bend it out of the way. Now, again, you're gonna be careful because the whole steering piece will pop off because those upper screws hold your steering servo and all that in place. So I'm just using my finger to hold down on it. Keeps it in place. I'm gonna slide this one up under here. Got to get it over the top of that little post. And I just looked to see. Oh, dang it. The rear one I messed up too. You do have to look for these bearings. If they stay in here, you have to pop them out and put them in the new one. So I use a driver like that. Just pop it out. Can't believe I forgot about that on the rear. All right. So just make sure you get the bearings. You can move all this out of your way and it'll drop right over the top here and push on. So the steering mechanism did lift off with the upper links. It's okay. We're just going to put it back in place. Lift the body off it. We can see it easier. Get our hands right up on top. Slide it back on. And then we're going to use our screws from this and start with the top ones. Lock that bad boy in place. Get the longest ones you can. While we're in the talk about best practices mode, let's talk about what I like to use right here. This is a CCxRC mat screw catcher. These are excellent tools. You can see that these are somewhat magnetic because they are sticking up. But I already misplaced one screw because I wasn't using it. There, now we're using it. If they drop out or whatever reason, they'll stay on this mat. But super duper helpful. I waited way too long to buy my first one. Now I have large ones over in my studio. They're just on the table where I wrench. What I should be using is my Mighty Handy tool because it is magnetic. And it will hold on to this a little better, at least to get it in there and started. I won't be so frustrated because it'll stay right on there. That's the hard part with these. People talk about all the time is the screws and everything are so small. But magnets and magnetism are your friend. Bam. And actually, because the back of this is spins, we're just going to go ahead and screw it in with this instead of the screwdriver. You can do it pretty quick. You get a rhythm going. All right, so somewhere we dropped out the longer screw. It's stuck right up in there. Also, I just pushed that servo arm way up and look at all that clearance I have now. I can really get in there and work. Again, just be careful. Don't overdo it. Don't over tighten. Just gonna tighten all these down by hand. We are good. Now we got some weight on here. Go back out and test it again. Before we move on, we just want to get a quick baseline for weight of this truck. We're now at 284. Previously, this truck's kind of the same. So it's 274. It does have a different, little bit bigger servo in it. So it's got a little extra added weight there. So they're probably at about 270-ish, 268, because we added just 16 grams. So minus 16 grams would be 268 is what we'll say is our starting weight. And we'll go from there. But the extra weight will hopefully help the tires push down in. See, I'm coming off that rock weird. That's just a bad line by me. A lot of that's washed away, so it's different than I'm used to, where my old lines. So we tried to go up here, and we couldn't. It wouldn't make the corner. That's new. All right, so that is a new line that we didn't have before. I can crawl up here, which is cool. I'm gonna, though, drop it down because I want to come back up the line we had before. But that's the line I wanted and couldn't get with the truck stock. So got a little bit extra weight on the wheels, also keeping it from tipping there. That line was super easy, felt planted. It definitely, it's weird how you can feel the truck even though you're not in it. And there's certain things that you notice about it as you're driving that you kind of perceive. And that's it, one, feeling planted. And this was also not something we were able to do because it tipped. So it didn't have that extra weight down low. So now we're on. So simple fix there. Made for a good line. So we came up and over this. We know this will be easy because we did it already. So we just got to get our line here, which is going to push a little bit. We had to do a reverse before. Hoping it'll hold until I can get that other tire up. There it goes. That's exactly what we needed it to do. So very simple upgrade. About $28 total. And definitely feeling the performance there. We'll bring it down here. I think I actually came on this side. I remember going over sticks. So I think we came up through here. Somehow. Don't remember the line. I know we tried to come over this and failed, and then we went around. Let's just give it a try for kicks and giggles. See if any weight helps. Nope. Still wants to roll. All right, so we're just going to bypass that. We came up, down and up through here. I don't remember our line. I think we're going to reverse here. Find our way back up. But we came across this gray rock. So I remember I was worried about the side hilling tipping. And we'll see if it still feels like it's ready to tip on that side hill, which is right up here. That felt like it wanted to. There's more in this section here, and I got help from this rock. Yeah. Same deal. Same kind of feel on that, I feel like. A little bit. You can feel the weight a little bit down low in the way that it's reacting. Really set the truck flying there. Oh, bogging out, a little bit of power there. So there's definitely, and so same thing here, the servo's stuck. We're kind of wedged the exact same way. So same line, come through, and then there, boom, the servo pops. And then we rolled out of here, settle it down. Alrighty guys, there you have it, the Axial SCX24 Bronco. We did a little bit of upgrades to this thing and we got some more performance out of it. It's still not like super great, it's still a little bit tippy, but we definitely could feel the difference in where the brake point was because of having the extra weight down low to counter the weight that these hard bodies have up top. And it would have been even more significant if it was, say, the Deadbolt or the Jeep or one of the Lexan bodies. You'd notice that lower weight even more. So we're heading in the right direction. We definitely noticed the steering kind of bind up when it got stuck there in the rocks. The motor, you can definitely feel it kind of bog out a little bit, and you really have to add a lot of throttle to it. So those are things that we can easily swap out and change. And I'm going to show you guys in the future videos in this build series how to change the motor, put in the baby Goliath, get that extra torque power that you want, and then the servos, we're going to put some brass servo mounts, steering links, all that kind of stuff. Add more weight to the front, help it not want to tip backwards so much as you're climbing up things, because that tends to be where I normally tip. I don't usually downhill tip a whole lot, but going uphill, I noticed that because the way that the wheels are pushing, it wants to do it more often than not. So yeah, those are some of the upgrades we're going to be working on, guys. So buckle up, guys. We're going to be taking this thing on a little journey, one upgrade at a time, to show you guys what each upgrade does as far as the significance that it makes. So keep your eye out for future build videos of this, guys. We'll have a playlist for it. You can find it there. And if you use the links to purchase these in the description, they are affiliate links. It does help support the channel. Anything that you do buy from CCxRC.com helps the channel and supports us as well, and making the video content that you're seeing here. So that's why we're doing this one. We want to have some build videos that show how to install these parts, but also to show you why you might want to install them on yours. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in as always. Have fun RCing. We'll catch you next time.